What is going on, you guys? Chief and I wish you a very happy day. We're here analyzing the new All Blacks team that has just dropped. First time the team has played in Cordoba in Argentina in 30 years. First time this year that the All Blacks have no debutants anywhere in the team. So what that tells me is that Robertson is taking the Argentina threat very seriously. The ABs have never dropped a game to Argentina in Argentina. That's the surprising thing about Los Pumas, who, don't forget, they beat the Springboks last year. They beat the All Blacks in Wellington. They beat the British and Irish Lions this year. But they don't always excel at home when you think they'd be the favorites. That's the surprising thing. These big cats are more like happy underdogs, don't you think, Chief? All right, let's not talk about dogs in front of Chief. But I'm going to break down the team here, because this has given me a pretty fascinating look into Razor's mind as it comes to the looming South African game at Eden Park, particularly when we analyze the loose forward makeup. But let's start in the front row. Absolutely no surprises here. Tyrell Lomax not available. Mighty Williams not available. Clearly, Ethan de Groot and Fletcher Newell are the best backups. Man, Fletcher Newell has come a long way. You know, it felt like in the past he might have been the third choice in the depth chart. He is absolutely number 2 at the moment. You know, you can really put him either side of the hooker and he's going to go okay. But you can't go wrong with Cody Taylor out there. They're banking on experience. Samisoni Takiahau hasn't exactly set the world on fire as he's easing his way back into the All Black jersey after a pretty long layout last year. One man who is really entrenched now as a starter is Fabian Holland. He has been the find of the season for the All Blacks, but he's going to be partnered by Scott Barrett, who's recovered from that calf niggle. We thought he might be out a little bit longer, but he's clearly got those mutant Barrett healing superpowers. I mean, these boys tend to bounce back pretty quickly from injury. They're never out for too long. So both Barretts on deck there who were injured, and of course Geordie in the midfield. But yeah, man, Fabian Holland has just caused a great rethink of this All Blacks loose forward mix, in the sense that now you have the luxury of playing Tupovai at 6. You have that optionality at line-out time. Another huge man who can win ball, lay a foundation for the All Blacks off the line-out. They did that very well against France, particularly in the first 2 games. I look at numbers 4, 5, 6, and I go, man, this All Blacks line-out is looking supreme. But the most intriguing pick for sure is Du'Plessis Kirifi at 7. Now, I alluded earlier in this video too, this gives me a bit of an insight, this selection here, as to what Razor might be thinking about the box. He's not getting ahead of himself, but he knows that that huge threat is coming. Well, I just think it shows that we don't really have a number 8 in the works that Razor wants to throw out against South Africa. Christian Leo Willie, I thought, made a really good fist of his time at 8 for the ABs when he was called into action this year. However, there is more upside in Du'Plessis Kirifi in the loose forward mix. I reckon that Razor wants him as a bench option, a bit like a Quagga Smith from South Africa. Smaller, mobile guy who can come on in the second half, create absolute havoc at the breakdown. However, Kirifi will really benefit from getting those extra starting minutes. It's going to grow him as an All Black. He was very good in Game 3 in Hamilton against the French. So Razor wants to pour more minutes into him. And like I said, even though they're different positions, to me it came down to a bit of a shootout between some of the new guys coming in. You know, with Wallace Satiti injured, you do have a vacancy there. Is there a compelling enough number 8 option behind Satiti that's going to let you keep Savia at 7? The answer we got today is no. Razor would prefer to move Savia to 8 and bring on the development of Du'Plessis Kirifi. So that's an interesting one. And, you know, it just shows that Christian Leo Willie wasn't necessarily going to stick around much longer this year anyway, after that initial French series. You had the option of maybe putting Simon Parker in there at 6 or bring him off the bench. And I think he will get minutes soon. Just a sense of caution from Razor here. He wants to play his most experienced lineup possible. And that translates into the halves, where you have Cortez Ratama at 9, and Finlay Christie has won the battle for the bench spot ahead of Kyle Preston, who's very exciting. You know, many of you watching this channel might think, hey, I'd rather see Preston out there. I probably would too. You know, I'd also like to see Leroy Carter at 11, but again, there's a sense of we want to build momentum coming into these South Africa tests, which will define the season, make no mistake about it, and no disrespect to Argentina. But there is no time to really experiment or blood new guys in these games here. With that said, you know, Jordie Barrett holds down number 12. He's the vice captain too. Leadership for days. Actually looks better since his Leinster stint. I mean, his performance off the bench in Game 3 in Hamilton against France was absolutely unbelievable on both sides of the ball, defense and attack. He made the telling defensive play and the telling offensive play of the entire game. So, you know, he is just absolutely worth his weight in gold to the All Blacks. Chief Keef here is a huge fan of Jordie Barrett. Loves all the Barretts, actually. But Billy Proctor, man, you know, his time at 13 continues. Reiko Ioane is now listed as an outside back, man. He's not even listed in the midfield anymore. So a lot of you on this channel, man, I read your comments. You were just like, hey, we don't mind Reiko. We got nothing against Reiko. We think he's a good player. We just don't think he is the number 13 for the long haul for the ABs. Well, your dreams have come true. He now seems to be really a wing option. And look, a little bit of his positional play wasn't quite at the level you would expect. But it's hard changing positions. This is not Super Rugby. This is the international arena. Even if you're an experienced guy like Reiko Ioane, it is hard to get shunted from the midfield to the wing. I reckon that he will play better in the Rugby Championship if he keeps getting minutes at 11. On the other side, you have Sevu Reece there. You know, you got to feel for Amoni Narawa. I don't know what he has to do to get any extended time, but Sevu Reece is being preferred, you know, for his creativity, and I can see that. He does create a lot. He hits the rucks hard. He's a go kind of player with a very high work rate. We need to see him deliver. You always had the option of putting Jordan at 14 and having D-Mac at the back, but I think Razor's made the sensible choice here, which is let D-Mac detonate off the bench. Remember, last year the All Blacks struggled where? Fourth quarter, where those disappointing, frustrating fourth quarter fades. The ABs would look great for an hour, even against the Springboks at home. Game 1 last year against the Bokke. Dominated them for an hour, faded at the end. What do you put that down to? Inferior depth, inferior impact. Okay? So, to me, a guy like Damian McKenzie gives you that turbo-powered impact off the bench. So I'm pretty happy seeing him there on the pine. I think he's got to be in the 23. And if we're going into an era looking ahead where it's maybe going to be Beauden Barrett and Richie Mo'unga even, holding down that 10 jersey, you might think that D-Mac is the super sub for the next few years, but time will tell. Of course, Anton Leonard-Brown is there as backup. You know, the All Blacks are gone for a 5-3 split. Very rare that they're going to do a 6-2. You had to know it would be a 5-3. But ALB, you know, he returned to action in the third game against France a few weeks back. And he looked really good out there. I mean, he is not just solid, but actually has moments of sublime skill and panache. So I don't view ALB as just sort of a dependable workhorse. You know, I think he actually can light up this back line. His distribution is fantastic, and he's proven it time and time again over the years. So, again, very happy with the experience there. But, you know, taking a look at the forwards, you know, Pasilio Tosi, Ollie Norris, Taki Ahau, some good impact there, some big bodies. Patrick Tuipulotu is a very gnarled veteran. And lastly, you know, you have Samipeni Finau. Like I said, you could have put Simon Parker there, but Finau did perform pretty well in that third game against the French. He has earned himself some more minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can really make an impact off the bench. I think that's where his future lies short term. I think once you get Wallace Satiti back, you're going to be looking at a Tupovai at 6, Adi Savi at 7, Wallace Satiti at 8, kind of feel probably for the Boks and the Wallabies. Knock on wood, injuries permitting. But there you go, guys. That's your starting 15 and impact players for the All Blacks. Do you like this team? I think it's pretty hard not to. It's probably the most experienced team Razor could have put out there. Or did you want to see more experimentation? I'd love to know. So leave a comment below. Chief and I are looking very much forward to reading those. And guys, send this video to someone who loves rugby. Drop a like if you haven't already. Please subscribe. Check out the merch below. I am an official Fanatics partner, so if you buy some merch through there, you're going to buy your merch anyway. You might as well use my official link. Help this channel grow and help yourself out. And guys, I'll be back to break down this game and the Springboks game against the Wallabies on the weekend. I'm so excited. The Rugby Championship is here. Let's go. Catch you for another one real soon. Bye for now, guys.